What's going on, guys? I'm Mr. Godzilla, and today we're going to try something a little bit different. We got a comparison between two sets of figures, old and new, and they use the same sculpt. So we're going to take a look at what's different. It's pretty much just the paint. I mean, I could tell you that right now. It's just the paint, really. But we're going to look at what's been updated, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So right here we have the brand new X Plus 1972 set that includes both Godzilla and Gigan with updated paint apps. This is, of course, for their 50th anniversary. That's right, 1972 was 50 years ago. And we got a brand new set to celebrate their anniversary. I think it's really awesome that they're celebrating anniversaries. Of course, last year with Hedorah, we only got a couple def reels. Wasn't too exciting, so I'm really glad that they stepped it up and we got something quite unique. And over here on this side, of course, is the original figures that these are, well, taken from with updated paint apps. And we're going to take a look at what's changed. But before we do that, I do want to take a quick look at the history of these figures. It's quite interesting, actually, and obviously very relevant, being that they're the same exact sculpt. So let's take a look at Gigan over here. Let's start with him. This is the original 2012 25cm version, and mine specifically is actually the Rick Boy. So what that means is you can take off his neck with a hairdryer, you pull that guy out, and it's got a battery pack attached to it that you switch on and it lights up his eye. Now mine actually does still work. I'm not going to take it off because it's really it's a horrible system. It's quite a hassle to take that whole thing off. For folks that have the original Mothra light ups, you know, you have to take her back abdomen off. It's a whole ordeal, and I'm so glad that, you know, we don't have the best feature with the light up box, but it's better than X Plus started out with. Now before we get to this guy, there are two more Gigan releases to cover. One came in 2016 in the form of a Wonderfest box set with Megalon, so this is not the first time that Gigan's been in a box set. It happened in 2016, and it had, I think, what looks like a similar paint job. It's hard to see, there aren't a ton of those sets out there, so I don't own one, obviously. I'm just using pictures from the internet. I think the paint is probably a little bit more vibrant than the guy I have right here, but that being said, you know, I can't tell right now. Maybe some of you out there have it and can do a similar comparison. I would actually really love to see how it compares to both of these guys. If you guys know anyone, definitely don't hesitate to do a comparison. Snap some quick pics, post them up somewhere, and let me know. I'm seriously interested. But aside from that, there's also a 2019 release. I imagine this is what most people have because it's the most accessible, at least if you didn't start early on to be able to get the original guys or the Wonderfest set. That was also quite hard to get. You probably ended up with the nighttime variant Gigan, which was a Rick exclusive light up. Had very dark paint to reflect the nighttime battle scene. It's a very cool figure in its own right, but for me personally, again, I've never seen it in person, but I'm not about darker paint schemes or night ones. I like them bright and vibrant, so it wasn't my cup of tea, but I definitely would have picked it up if I didn't have this guy. So there you go. And that brings us to our final reissue right here. There have been 4 variations of this guy in the span of 10 years, so that's pretty cool. And I think that they're all decently different enough, at least to talk about. Probably not to own, of course, because, you know, it's not too dramatic, but there you have it. So let's move on to the Godzillas. Now I should mention that this is the 1971 Godzilla from Hedorah, and this is the 72 version from Gigan. They reused the same exact sculpt for both years because, well, they're the same exact suit. And there's kind of minor differences. You can ask Samson West. I'm sure he's an expert in the 72 suit. But basically what I know is that the eyes might be a tad narrower. I'm not sure if that was done on purpose or just, you know, the suit aging a year and being in battle. But regardless, they are pretty much identical, so I can't blame X Plus for reusing the same sculpt. And what I do like, at least, is that we got a very different paint job. I did not expect it to be this different, but let's start off with the original issue of the 1971 sculpt, which was released back in 2011. Now, what's interesting about that one is that the standard edition is actually the one that came with the Hedorah eyes and the eye patch, and the Rick edition came with both sets of arms, including the normal one. So if you wanted a regular Godzilla 1971, you had to get the Rick edition, which I would think would be reversed. But hey, X Plus can do what they want. That's actually really cool of them to give you the, what I would say is the better version as the standard version, but of course it's nice to be able to interchange them. This version in particular looks like it's got a middle of the road paint job. It's not too dark, it's not too light, it's got some nice dirt highlights on there, And overall, I don't own it, but as you can see from the promo images, it looks pretty good. You know, I would be pretty happy with that. After that came the 2017 edition, which is what I have right here. It was a Rick exclusive, which came with both sets of arms and the eye patch, like the original Rick, but there was no standard. It was also issued in a nighttime showdown paint scheme, much like the 2019 Gigan. Of course, they're different films, though, so it turned out much darker than the original one. And of course, that brings us to our 2022 edition. Now, these guys are called a Showdown set. I don't know if they're referring to that meaning the nighttime battle like they did with this guy, but it's up in the air. I actually thought it might be cool to bring up the box here. This is the box for the new set. This is, I mean, obviously there's both of them here, and it's a pretty bland cardboard box, really, but you know. It's, you know, showdown set. It's kind of fun. It's also got this sticker here, which is, you know, the selling point for me. Instead of the Rick sticker, it's a 50th anniversary Gigan sticker. I don't know why I think that's so cool, but I do. I don't know. It's a fun detail, really. You know, it's just something neat, and you know, I appreciate things like that. You could tell that they actually care about what they're doing. I mean, obviously, you know, put a lot of work into these figures, but it's things like that. It's a nice touch. These guys both came in regular 25 centimeter boxes. If you guys know what those look like, they're red and they got windowed boxes, so nothing exciting there, but yeah, the box. But that's about all there is. So these figures have undergone a decade of reissues. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, well, I'm going to leave that to you to decide, because right now we're going to jump into what you came here for. It's the paint job comparison. Alright, here we are for the closer look. You're gonna have to excuse the sound quality in this section. I'm using a portable mic so I can move around and shit. But anyway, first thing I want to mention is that these guys, this is the brand new 72 set right here. They are still up and available on the Godzilla store right now. You can go on that website and purchase them for retail, which I think is just so cool. I mean, X Plus are known for being limited and exclusive and just a horrendous aftermarket, so the fact that you can still grab these guys all that time later, really, really awesome. If you live outside of Japan, you will need a proxy service. If you don't know what that is or you want help with that, feel free to message me. You know, I'm a nice guy. I'll help you out with that, because I want anyone that doesn't have these and wants them to be able to grab them. They are that fantastic. So, a couple more things I wanted to point out. The first is something that you probably noticed. Of course, I didn't, because my perception skills are but there is a very obvious contrast in the way these two figures were painted. Godzilla here, very light. Gigan here, very dark. Now, I'm not sure what the intention was behind this. I have to imagine it was intentional because, you know, it's X+. But it's definitely an interesting choice and not necessarily one that I would have made, because personally I like my figures to be lighter, that way they pop more and they just look better overall. But that's what we got. Again, these are called the Showdown set, so it's supposed to reflect the nighttime battle in Godzilla vs. Gigan. And you know what, there are actually a few scenes I saw looking back where Godzilla is kind of light like that, so I can see where they got it from. And Gigan as well, he was obviously pretty dark in that film, so you know, I understand it. It doesn't take anything away from me. I still think they look fantastic together, and I'm just so glad to have them. And one other quick thing to note that other collectors are keen to point out is the height difference. So Gigan realistically should be maybe there, you know, definitely taller than Godzilla. And that's not even against this specific release right here, it's against the sculpts themselves, which this reissue just reused. But again, that's not something that bothers me. I'm not a stickler for scaling, so not a problem in my book. As long as the figure looks mostly accurate and it looks cool, plenty in my book. Alright, let's go ahead and start the comparison. I'll take Goji right up on out of here and bring in Gigan's earlier counterpart. This is the 2012 Rick issue, so this is a decade apart. It's using the same sculpt. Fantastic, and I absolutely love both of these guys. So again, the only real difference is in the paint. They use the same sculpt and the same pose, and by the way, I've seen people on Facebook confused about this, so I did want to mention, you can twist the arms, they do move, so you can pose them however you'd like. The legs also move, but not to extending the arms, so I like to keep my Gigan with one claw up like that. I think it's a really cool fighting pose, but you can position your Gigan however you'd like. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but it's the way the figure is made, like Bandai's, so you can indeed twist the arms. One other thing I've seen pointed out is that the sculpt on the head of the new Gigan may be slightly raised, and as you can see in this comparison right here, he does look a little straighter and a little bit taller. You can see the eye line is just above the older figure, so it looks like they updated it very, very slightly. Again, not really sure what the motivation for this mod was, but we'll take any extra height we can get on this guy. It's very minor, but something worth noting, I guess. Alright, so let me bring them closer and we'll take a look at that body color. So as you can tell immediately, this guy is much darker than the original one. Again, that's really on your preference, but for me, this guy all the way. There's so much more intricate detail in there and depth. Oh man, I gotta bring him up close. So let's go ahead and like start the neck here. Let's focus on that guy. And look at that. I mean, look at the greens in there. You can see some blue hues. And of course, it's separated by the neck crease folds here, which is a beautiful sculpt detail, by the way. And it really pops. Look at that. I mean, so many different shades in there. Even on the head, too. Look at that. There's a darker green, the lighter green. All sorts of beautiful things happening in there. When we bring up the original guy, well, not a whole lot happening here. It's just kind of like muddy green. There may be some kind of blackish, dark gray greens going on, but not too much. The real only thing I can see is the blue highlights around like the eye there. Maybe the neck here, but not a whole lot. It's more samey, muddy green color. And you can find some of the same things like in the arm here, arm bend right there. Look at all that. Look at that all sculpted out. So stunning. And it's of course got that nice light of greens in there as well. But on this guy, same thing you'll find in the neck. Not too much going on there. Just a dark muddy green and kind of flat. Same thing on the leg. You know, it's pretty much the same thing all around. Look at all that green, nice light green in there. I could even see some teal in there. Awesome color blendings. The knees a little bit different, a little flatter. And you can see all those colors there. Even look at this right here on the body. It's like some sky blue highlights. Love the application of that there. It's just kind of like spotty on there. Looks awesome. You will not find that on this original guy. I mean, you know, it's again up to your preference, but I just think the new guy is so much more intricate, so much more detailed. You do find some of that blue in here. There's some blue in there, you know, lighter, darker greens. Not too much going on in the body, but, you know, let me show you the gold plating here. So there's not a ton of difference on this one. Obviously, the new guy's darker, and the older guy is a little more gold. So I actually kind of prefer the older guy in terms of those scales, just because it's a little more gold in color. But it's definitely not a big deal for me, and the new guy is better in almost every other aspect, so I'm not worried about that. Let's take a look at the claws here. They bring those around. You can even see it just from this angle right here, that there is just so much more blending on this claw. Let me bring it up close for you. So this is the new guy right here. Look at the blending in comparison to the no blending at all on the old guy right here. I wish I could focus better. Well, whatever. You can see it. There's just a ton more detail on this. Look at that shadows and the brown there, and even the metallic color. It's so much more shiny on this guy, and that goes for the beak and all his other claws and horns and feet. Again, look at that there compared to that. It's just a straight silver wash on this guy. Nothing really going on. I mean, look at the beak and everything. Oh man, look at that. Look at the nice shading in there. So good, so good. Love it. And the last thing that you can really tell is the spines. Let me try and finagle these guys in there without causing too much scuffing. There we go. That's decent, I guess. You can see there's so much more yellow, so much more vibrant on this guy. However, when I was looking at suit pictures, I actually did kind of see them look more accurate to the older figure, but there are some screenshots. In fact, this particular set picture shows like all the highlights and the yellow color of the spines on the new guy. So really, you know, it depends on what you're going off of. In the film, maybe the spines are more accurate in this guy, but on your shelf, this is 100% going to pop more, and it's really how I remember Gigan anyway. You really remember him being all dull and flat, or vibrant and just awesome. But that's Gigan. I mean, again, you know, it's all preference, but the new guy has just got so much more to offer, in my opinion. And of course, that's 10 years of X Plus perfecting their craft, so I find that really cool. I don't think you can justify keeping both of them. Of course, this guy is the Rick, but maybe you can find a way to finagle some lights in this guy. I'm not really sure what the inside looks like, but that's the real only advantage of keeping the older guy. I mean, everything else is vastly improved on the new guy, so he gets my vote. So let's take these Gigans out of here and bring in the Gojis. Alright, so let's bring in this new guy right there, try and get him to look good. And the older release, the 2017, not the first edition, but close enough, I guess. Alright, so obviously right off the bat you can tell nighttime paint scheme undeclared. Not too sure what's going on there, but let's take a closer look. So let's examine this body color. So as you can see, much like the new Gigan, the new Godzilla is also a bit taller than the older release. Again, not sure why, but kind of neat. And unlike the Gigans, you cannot move any of Godzilla's limbs. They are indeed glued in. However, this guy does come with the interchangeable parts. You got a hairdryer, these on. These are the Hedorah eyes, alternate arms. And he does come with this little eye patch. I'm not going to put any of these on right now, but those are the accessories. This guy comes with nothing except himself and the Gigan. So over here we got this mostly black paint scheme. And let me bring them up though, because you can see some, highlights in there. It's got like some browns, almost yellow in some places, and that's to mimic like dirt and everything from the Hedorah fight scene. Again, this is 71, not 72 like the guy over here. But other than that, I mean, it's mostly just a uniform black. You can kind of see some blues, but again, this is like really bright lights shining on this figure. You really can't see any of this except for the stuff on the legs when he's on your shelf. Now this guy, kind of the same thing, honestly, except in a much lighter coat. You can see that it's a much lighter gray, more reflective of a daytime paint scheme, but whatever. And you can kind of see that same thing with the dirt happening here. It's some lighter browns. Oh, it's definitely more covering here. It looks more like a layer of dirt, where it looks more like flecks on the other guy. So that's something interesting to note. But other than that, same kind of thing. You can kind of see maybe some white highlights in there, but overall, pretty flat paint jobs, I guess. This guy, I still think kind of pops more just because of the nature of having a lighter paint job. But let's go ahead and take a look at the face. So here's the 2017. Get a good look at that guy, see what he looks like. And I will pull up him and look at the difference. Look at how much more the eyes pop. Let's put them right next to each other. Look at that. See how much more the eyes pop on the new guy, the mouth and the teeth. Look at how much clearer. Look at all the gums in there. Look at those teeth. Look at the gums in there. Look how so much more detail, so much more paint and everything. Oh, it looks so much nicer. Obviously this guy's supposed to be dark for the nighttime scene, but so much more going on there. And of course the blood. Let me talk about the blood for a second. Gigan being infamous for the blood. Focus on that. I think that's a really good representation when he got hit in the face. And not the first opponent to draw blood from Godzilla. That title goes to Hedorah, but still very representative of the Gigan film. Another cool thing to note is these spines. Let's turn these guys around. And you can kind of see the more bone white, regular static spines you got there. And over here, they're almost more golden. Let me bring that guy up. There you go. So, you get more standard look on the 2017. It's more golden, more daytime show of badassery. I don't know what else to call it. It's just really neat, something unique. And that's really all there is to talk about in this guy. You can kind of see some stuff on the nails. Let's bring up their feet for a sec. So this is the older guy right here versus the newer guy. And yeah, there's a little more like the Gigan, a little more blending, a little more browns and grays in there, but not a huge deal for me. And that's really all there is in these guys. They're not as intricate as the Gigan, but again, I love the paint scheme of this guy. Even if it doesn't necessarily match the Gigan, even if it doesn't even necessarily match the showdown scene in the film, I look around my room and I see dark gray, dark gray, dark gray, and over here, beautiful, nice light gray wash that just is really reminiscent of Showa to me. Even if not that specific film, well, I think it just looks awesome anyway, and I'm just really glad to have it. And I think I definitely can justify keeping both these guys, just because this guy comes with the Rick arms and he's from a different film. Even though they're the same figure, the paint job and the accessories make them different enough for me to justify it. So let's go ahead, put everyone up on in here, put him there, get you there, and then just go ahead and shove the other Gigan right off to the side there. Let me organize them a little bit better, but there you go. There's the X Plus set you've been waiting for. There's some of the differences, and you can't go wrong with any of these figures, honestly. But I hope that helps you decide which one might be better for you. Again, I don't have a few of the figures I mentioned in the beginning of the video, so keep that in mind. There are plenty of these guys out there, but these two right here are the most currently accessible that you can still grab right now. Alright, that's all I got for you. Let's take it back and close out this video. Alrighty, that's all I got for you guys. Tried something different today. Hope you liked it. Let me know if you did. Let me know if you got any suggestions for future type of videos that I could do. I'm open to anything, really, if I get around to making them, that is. But yeah, so thanks a ton for watching. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me, and see you around.